Imagine a high-end watch that looks more like a porthole than a dress circle and costs more than its gold cousins. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, a legend in luxury watchmaking. Its fame rests on a blend of audacious history, radical design, and top-shelf engineering. In this script, we'll peel back that octagonal bezel and explore why the Royal Oak is a superstar, from its 1972 genesis by design virtuoso Gerald Genta to its razor-thin movement and in-your-face aesthetics. We'll also confront the agony of owning one, limited runs, endless wait lists, sky-high prices, and round it off with a gallery of celebrity wrist shots, all delivered with a wink and a smirk, because if there's one thing watch nerds love, it's a good story and a smug sense of exclusivity. The Audacious Origins, 1972, and Gerald Genta. In the early 1970s, Swiss watchmaking was sweating through the quartz crisis. Giants like Audemars Piguet faced an existential threat. Customers flocked to cheap quartz imports. Then in April 1972, AP rolled the dice. They unveiled the Royal Oak at Baselworld, a massive stainless steel sports watch selling for CHF 3,300. To put that in perspective, it costs more than a gold Patek Philippe dress watch at the time. In marketing copy, AP cheekily asked, what makes steel more valuable than gold? Because they were about to charge gold prices for plain old steel. Ads even bragged steel at the price of gold and touted it as the costliest steel watch in the world, daring collectors to buy into this new philosophy that luxury was about design and craftsmanship, not just precious metals. So how did AP arrive at this madcap idea? The legend, mostly true, goes like this. It was late 1970 and AP's managing director, George Gallet, made a desperate phone call to designer Gerald Genta. The very next day, AP needed an entirely new waterproof steel sports watch to show Italian and French dealers at the fair. In one night. No pressure. Genta sketched furiously in one night and delivered an outrageously novel design by morning. He said he was inspired by what he recalled as a deep-sea diver's helmet, the kind with giant bolts and a rubber seal. With that image in mind, he drew a one-piece monocoque case with a visible gasket and a flat octagonal bezel with 8 exposed hexagonal screws. In reality, no diving helmet had that exact shape. AP later admitted Genta's impression was a happy accident, but it gave us those famous bolts. Genta even integrated the watch's steel bracelet into the case with tapering links, a hand-polished finish unprecedented at the time. Legend says Genta was so obsessed he had never worked with steel before and quipped it felt like fitting a $30,000 movement in a $1 tool case. The finished product was radical, a hulking 39mm jumbo case, enormous in 1972, with a blue grande tapisserie pattern dial, luminous gold markers, and a satin brush finish everywhere. AP proudly declared it revolutionized traditional watchmaking codes, with this stainless steel body, octagonal bezel of visible screws, guilloche dial, and integrated bracelet. In short, it screamed, we do things differently now. AP took an unprecedented gamble. They initially ordered 1,000 of the steel Royal Oak A series, reference 502ST, making it the largest single model order in AP's history up to then. A second batch of 1,000 followed before they moved to the BCD series. When launched at Basel 1972 though, critics recoiled. They saw a visible gasket, naked screws, and a steel finish and thought AP had lost its mind. At CHF 3,300, it wasn't just the priciest steel watch ever. It cost 10 times what a Rolex Submariner went for. Journalists warned this would lead to AP's bankruptcy. Indeed, the first 1,000 took well over a year to sell, spawning the myth that the Royal Oak was a flop. But time is a strange currency in horology. By 1975, AP had moved most of those first 2,000 pieces, and by 1977, demand was so real they began releasing gold and two-tone Royal Oaks. In fact, archives show AP could have been wildly overshooting. They only made about 5,000 watches per year total in the mid-1970s. The flop story is half legend. AP learned from the market, refined the Royal Oak, and built it a following. By the late 1970s, the Royal Oak had established itself as AP's new flagship, and it saved the brand during a crisis era. In time, the daring move paid off. AP's mantra became that craftsmanship, complexity, and design could trump gold, literally. What makes the Royal Oak stand out? Okay, enough backstory. Why exactly is the Royal Oak so special on the wrist and under the hood? In a word, detail. Every aspect of this watch set new standards and gave AP fans forever bragging rights. Here are the key features that make it stand out aesthetically and technically. Stainless steel case, hand finish. For a luxury watch in 1972, a case and body of stainless steel was revolutionary. AP insisted on making it with gold-level finishing, brushing and polishing every chamfer by hand. The case is one solid piece, monoblock design with a visible gasket, nodding to the diver's helmet story. AP even had their gold case maker, Fabre & who had never worked in steel, craft it because fine workmanship and top-of-the-range decorations were core to the concept. In short, they didn't cut corners on a watch that looks rugged. Octagonal bezel with 8 screws. This is the Royal Oak signature, an octagon now famously inspired by the porthole with 8 hexagonal screw heads visible on top. Hint, they're not functional screws holding the bezel on. The slots are decorative, but they're aligned perfectly for drama. It was a sacrilegious design at launch, but iconic today. AP's marketing still notes the octagonal bezel with 8 hexagonal screws as a codebreaker in horology. In other words, even the bezel hardware is part of the aesthetic. Integrated bracelet. Now, before the Royal Oak, steel bracelets were usually afterthoughts or cheap mesh bands. Genta designed an integrated bracelet that flowed from the case without lugs. Each link tapers and fans out from the case. A painstaking layout. Genta himself boasted the bracelet was unprecedented, with tapering intermediate links that made it extremely hard to produce. Yes, making each tiny link fit like a jigsaw and have alternating brushed and polished surfaces was a nightmare, but that's why the Royal Oak's bracelet looks so harmonious and slim on the wrist. Grand Tapisserie dial. Look at the dial closely and you'll see a raised checkerboard pattern. In the original models, it was a deep sunburst blue. This guilloche texture, called the Grand Tapisserie motif, is another signature. The pattern gives depth to the face and catches the light beautifully. AP also filled the gold hour markers and hands with lume, giving the technical sporty vibe. Ultra thin caliber 2120/2121. Under the octagon sits AP's pride, an ultra-thin automatic movement. Concealed beneath the dial is the Cabela 2120 and its date-equipped variant 2121, which debuted in 1967. At its launch, it was the thinnest rotor automatic movement in the world. Thanks to this micro mech, the Royal Oak Jumbo's 39mm case is remarkably only about 7mm thick. AP says the 2120 made possible the creation of the Royal Oak Jumbo, a self-winding but ultra-thin watch, a feat of ingenuity at the time. In other words, you get a large sporty watch that doesn't puff out too much, a technical coup. Side note, the 2120/21 movement is actually based on Jaeger-LeCoultre's Caliber 920. AP's version is so finely finished, it's a jewel in the RO's crown. All these elements together gave the Royal Oak an aesthetic no one had seen before. Think luxury sports watch, but make it space-age avant-garde. The industry was not ready. A steel case with visible screws would have been anathema to traditional brands. AP themselves admitted the design was a gamble, yet they were convinced the extraordinary labor justified the price. The payoff? A watch that felt both rebellious and exquisitely refined. It looked like nothing else, yet felt as meticulously crafted as the finest traditional watch. Legacy and impact. The Royal Oak's debut rewrote watchmaking playbooks. It essentially created a whole new genre, the luxury sports watch in steel. By the late 1970s, other brands scrambled to catch up. Patek Philippe would release the Nautilus in 1976, Genta again, and many others eventually followed the sport stainless trend. AP itself expanded the line with complications, e.g. perpetual calendars, chronographs, all on the same iconic case. In 1993, AP launched the Royal Oak Offshore, a chunkier, more youthful reinterpretation to cement its muscle appeal. Off topic for this script, but it shows how enduring the RO concept was. Importantly, the Royal Oak put Audemars Piguet on the map for a new generation. Before the RO, AP was a venerable but somewhat niche brand. Afterward, it became a global status symbol. The design has remained remarkably consistent. Even today, you see 1972's DNA in new models. AP touts it as a symbol of audacity and innovation, and indeed, it's become AP's mascot, the watch everyone recognizes. If you know luxury watches, you know the Royal Oak Octagon and its jaunty applique bracelet, everywhere from magazine ads to Instagram celebrities. There's even an anniversary DNA in modern releases. 2022 marked the Royal Oak's 50th birthday, and AP gave it a big party, plus some special editions, but the core legend remains the same. As one modern commentator noted, the Royal Oak revolutionized watchmaking by imposing new stylistic codes still obeyed by collectors in 2025. The price of obsession. Buying the Royal Oak. All this fame and scariness has made the Royal Oak notoriously hard to actually acquire. Think of owning one like getting concert tickets to the most popular band on earth. Demand far outstrips supply. Here are the main headaches for a potential buyer. Limited production. Audemars Piguet isn't Rolex. It produces only on the order of 50,000 watches a year, and that's all models. Even if every dealer wanted to stock Royal Oaks, AP just can't crank them out like fast food burgers. Billionaire, AP's then CEO, confirmed production hitting 50k in 2022, rising to about 53k in 2023. Even 50k in a year is tiny. Compare Rolex's rumored 1 million. So a base Royal Oak model might only see a few thousand units over many years. Dealers, wait lists and allocations. Because demand has been ferocious, AP and its authorized dealers often manage interest lists. It's common to be told, "We'll add you to the waiting list if you walk in." In the late 2010s, early 2020s, that wait could be years. 10 to 15 years was flippantly cited for hot models during the mania. More recently, mid-2020s, some reports suggest those legendary multi-year waits have eased. A May 2023 article noted that waiting lists for the steel 41mm Royal Oak had shrunk to just a few weeks for even new customers. In short, if you can see one in a dealer's window, consider yourself lucky. Most people pay a deposit and wait. Retail versus secondary price. The official price for a new Royal Oak tends to climb each year with AP's list pricing. For example, a Royal Oak self-winding 41mm in steel has a retail around $30,000 plus in the US, about £23,900 in the UK as of 2023. But the secondary market, grey market auction often fetch much more when waiting lists were longest. In early 2023, one UK auction sale of a mint 41mm steel RO was £28,250, nearly a 20% premium over retail. In fact, some analysts noted paying £5,000 premium felt like a rare bargain compared to crazier pigs. It's worth noting that commentators interpreted this slight premium as a sign demand was cooling off. In other words, the insane markups of 2021-22 have eased a bit, but still expect a premium on any white-hot model. No discounts. Unlike mainstream brands, AP rarely offer discounts. Dealers might give small perks, an extra strap, etc., but never a straight price cut. So the only way you pay list price is by waiting. If you're impatient, you pay up on the secondary market. Even then, prices remain volatile. AP's strategy, under late CEO Billionaire, was to keep RO production tight enough that the brand remained exclusive. In practice, that means if you want one ASAP, be prepared for sticker shock and maybe a friends and family tax. Model variants and colors. Part of the pain is deciding what to get. The Royal Oak comes in dozens of versions, 38mm versus 41mm, various dial colors, full gold or two-tone, extra complications like chronographs or tourbillons, etc. If you aren't picky, you might find something sooner, but the most iconic, steel blue dial, no date, is like the Beatles at Shea Stadium. Every variant sells out, often with its own mini wait list. In sum, buying a Royal Oak requires patience, luck, and/or deep pockets. One writer quipped that the RO's very high price was used as a marketing hook. Challenging buyers, would you buy a Rembrandt for its canvas in ads? Indeed, AP leaned into the pain point in marketing. The copywriters at Hugo Boucher Agency even used taglines like "Steel at the price of gold." It's a badge of honor. If you can snag one, you essentially beat the game. Royal Oak on the wrist. Famous fans. If there's any consolation in the struggle to own a Royal Oak, it's knowing a who's who of A-listers has managed to get theirs. The watch became a go-to status symbol among celebrities in music, sports, film and fashion. Fashion watch publications and retailer blogs list dozens of names, and to highlight just a few, John Mayer, the guitar virtuoso and certified watch geek, famously wears vintage Royal Oaks, including perpetual calendar models. He's been spotted with them so often, it helped boost their cult status. Mayer's enthusiasm is partly why any cool AP dial design gets attention. Serena Williams. The tennis champion and fashion icon routinely sports a custom Royal Oak. In fact, AP made her a left-handed version, pushes on the left side so it won't dig into a tennis forehand. Serena even wore her Royal Oak on a Wheaties box cover. She's living proof they survive on court as well as the red carpet. Justin Bieber. Pop superstar Bieber reportedly bought a solid gold Royal Oak as a wedding gift to himself. He's been seen in public with various RO models, often gold. Early reports say he started wearing his after a concert gift. Stephen Curry. The NBA's all-time great shooter has been photographed wearing a gold Royal Oak, including when accepting his MVP trophy. Basketball players love the Royal Oak offshore line, but Curry showed this room for the classic Royal Oak too. Jay-Z. The hip-hop mogul and music icon is a long-time watch collector. He's been spotted wearing Royal Oaks on many red carpets and in music videos. Jay-Z's lean, refined style pairs well with the Royal Oak's subtle but bold look. Rihanna. The singer and fashion titan has a taste for bold accessories. She's been seen wearing her Royal Oak, sometimes diamond set, in public and on stage, embracing that perfect mix of elegance and attitude. Travis Scott. The rap superstar has his own flavour. He's been seen in AP ads and Instagram posts with a frosted gold Royal Oak, a hammered frosted finish that's very Travis cool. Kevin Hart. Comedian actor Hart is a big watch collector. He often wears a Royal Oak, and even the rarer Royal Oak concept pieces, the watch fits his image of clever, sharp style. LeBron James. Bonus mention. The NBA legend has a well-known passion for watches, including the Royal Oak and offshore. He's among many basketball players who wear AP, fitting given the Royal Oak's sporty pedigree. And the list goes on. Others spotted with Royal Oaks include Will Smith, Drake, Damon Albarn, Anthony Davis, Jay Leno, and even fictional tycoons like Bobby Axelrod. Damian Lewis's character in Billions rocks one. As one watch blog put it, everyone from Justin Bieber and John Mayer to Will Smith and Serena Williams has been sporting this decades-old watch. In the luxe world, strapping on a Royal Oak is basically a rite of passage, a flashing neon sign that you've arrived. Luxury reimagined with a wink. At 50 plus years old, the Royal Oak is still writing history. It stands as the watch that shouted innovation when everyone else whispered. Its legacy is a mix of genuine horological achievement and a smart marketing swagger. Today, you'll hear collectors debate whether the Royal Oak is truly better than its peers, is still really more valuable than gold, and watch YouTubers groan or gawk at its auction prices. But one thing's certain, Audemars Piguet created an icon. And let's not forget the attitude. This watch is made for people who like to feel a little bit naughty in a boardroom. For each time someone glances at a Royal Oak on your wrist, you know they're thinking about those screws or that 7.5mm thickness. They're judging and secretly jealous. So remember, the Royal Oak wasn't built because it was easy or obvious. It was built because AP dared to do something crazy and it paid off. If this were a movie, Royal Oak would be that renegade hero who overturns the status quo with style. In watch terms, it remains the timepiece that turned the luxury world upside down and said, yeah, steel is the new gold, and we're still all standing in line for tickets.